Hello, today I'm going to show you how you can solve a quadratic equation using the completing square method. So here we have the steps that we're going to follow one by one, and when we follow all these steps we shall solve this equation and get the x values that satisfy this equation. So let's start with step 1. Step 1 says start with the equation. So we shall rewrite our equation, which is 2x squared plus 8x plus 6, and this is equal to 0. So we have started with our equation. Step 2 says make the coefficient of x squared equal to 1. Where is x squared in this equation? X squared is here. So the coefficient of x squared is 2. So we need to make the coefficient of x squared a 1. How do we do that? We divide everywhere by 2. By 2, by 2, by 2. So 2 out of 2 gives us 1. So we shall have x squared remain here, then plus 8 out of 2 gives us 4x, then plus 6 out of 2 gives us 3 equaling to 0. So we are done with step 2. Step 3 says that we move the constant term to the other side. So the constant term in this case is 3, so we are going to move the 3 to the right hand side, and in this case we are going to have x squared remain on this side plus 4x, and then the 3 is going to go to the right hand side and it will become negative 3. So that is step 3. Step 4 says we take half of the coefficient of x, square it, and add it on both sides. What is the coefficient of x? The coefficient of x is 4. So we take its half. 4 divided by 2, or the half of 4 is 2. Half of 4 is 2. Then we square the 2, we add it on both sides. When we do that, we're going to have x squared plus 4x, then we add the square of 2, that is plus 2 squared, and we equate it to negative 3 plus 2 squared. As I have said, get the coefficient of x, divide it by 2. For example, 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then square it, add it on both sides. The reason as to why we do that, we want to complete the square of this, because this will be a perfect square if you do that. For example, I can now write this side as a perfect square. That is our step 5. Write the left side as a perfect square. So how do we do that? To do that, we're going to pick this x, we pick the plus sign or the positive sign, and we pick the 2. So we pick x, we pick the plus sign, we pick the 2, and we square outside. You realize that I have picked values that had squares. X has a square, 2 has a square. So I pick x, I pick the sign that is here, which is the plus sign, and I pick the 2, I put them in a bracket, I square outside. When you expand this, it will automatically give you that. And I'm going to say that this is equal to negative 3 plus 2 squared is 4. So you realize that here we have written the left hand side as a perfect square. When you expand this equation, it takes you back here. Now, the next step says we take the square root of both sides. Let us first simplify this side. We shall have x plus 2 squared, which will equal to negative 3 plus 4 gives you 1. And we are saying that our step 6 is to take square root on both sides. When we do that, we can do this, take the square root here, take the square root here. And whenever you take square root, you must put a plus and a minus, meaning that when you square a positive number and when you square a negative number, you get the same values. For example, negative 2 squared is equal to 4, and positive 2 squared is equal to 4. That means if I take the square root of 4, I'm supposed to get either a positive 2 or a negative 2. That is why when we take the square root, we put a plus and a minus, because squaring a negative and squaring a positive give us the same number. Now, the square root on the left-hand side dies with the square, and we remain with x plus 2. Then the square root of 1 is 1, so we write plus or minus 1. When you reach here, you're almost done, so you can take 2 to the right-hand side, and that is the last step, which says solve for x. So we are going to solve for x, and in this case, you will have x equal to plus or minus 1, then minus 2. And here you will have two values of x. The first value will be when you take plus 1 minus 2, and the second value of x will be when you take minus 1 minus 2. So the first value of x will be when you take positive 1 and negative 2, you will have negative 1. When you take negative 1 and negative 2, you will have x equal to negative 3. And finally, you will have solved the quadratic equation using the completing square method.